The powerful explosion created a crater in the ground, and thick smoke billowed rapidly upwards. A short while later, when the smoke cleared, Lu Fan went to the spot and saw a book. He immediately picked it up. He examined it and began to think. What was on his body? It seemed he had found something else in the treasure chest besides the hunter's heavy bow. There was something else there, something difficult to fully understand. But then Lu Fan saw something that shocked him. The notebook contained information that completely astonished Lu Fan. He began to read, around May 20th in the far north. It was the 21st day of the early season. And as always, the snow-covered plains were bitterly cold and endlessly frozen. But, unexpectedly, on this day, I encountered a creature I never expected to meet. It was legendary, so ferocious that it could obliterate even the largest animal in an instant. A colossal creature that suddenly appeared in a single breath. With its appearance, every living thing around it perished. Seeing this, in that very moment, this forest area became a forbidden zone forever, a place where humans would never dare to venture. Lu Fan closed the book and smiled to himself, as he had certainly not expected to find information about dragons in this notebook. He thought to himself, considering all the signs and descriptions recorded in the book, it was clear that the magical powers used by this dragon were exactly like the wrath of the Ice Dragon King. That cold, merciless, and all-freezing power. The implication was clear. This dragon was probably the Ice Dragon itself. A look of deep thought crossed Lu Fan's eyes. If they could find and subdue the Ice Dragon mentioned in those notes, it wouldn't just be another victory. Their overall capabilities would then transcend ordinary limits, reaching a whole new level. And when this secret place is finished, I'll be able to return to the far north. Thinking this, Lu Fan took a long leap, but then he remembered that the two men he needed to teach a lesson were still below. When the two men saw Lu Fan approaching, they were terrified. But Lu Fan immediately attacked with his sharp sickle and bound them both with his chains. And Lu Fan, with a bloodthirsty smile, approached them and said, "Do you have anything else to say? Or should I just end your lives right here?" But then, one of them said, "I'll give you all my valuables and important possessions. All I want is for you to spare my life. Dead men are of no use to you, so please spare our lives." And then he added, "Lu Fan, today I, Yuan Jingang, admit defeat. Kill me or torture me, do whatever you want, but give me a quick death. If you spare me, my Yuan family will forever be indebted to you. For this, even if I have to face mountains of knives and seas of fire, I will never back down." Lu Fan looked at them with a mocking smile and said, "Do you think that's enough to impress me?" Hearing Lu Fan's words, he said, "Hey Lu Fan, if you wanted to take our lives, it would truly be as easy for you as flicking your wrist. Because we saw everything with our own eyes, how you defeated such a massive beast with a single attack. But I want to tell you that perhaps we would be more useful to you alive than dead. Please think about it." Lu Fan smiled and looked at him saying, "Okay." But he was still afraid for his life and continued, "Whatever the reason, as long as our existence is secure because of you, we will give you everything we have. Everyone will obey." Seeing his companion giving all his belongings to Lu Fan, he was completely astonished. He thought to himself, "Why are you giving away all your things like this?" He went up to him and said, "Why are you giving away so many things? Isn't he afraid that we'll retaliate? And what if we act together?" As soon as he heard him, he refused to cooperate and said, "What are you thinking? If you think we can defeat Lu Fan in any way, you're wrong. Did you see? The way he dared to give us the Sea Hunter's bow only shows that he possesses something far more dangerous. And let me tell you one more thing. If you're looking for death, don't drag me into it because I don't want to die." When he refused in this manner, she angrily took a deep breath and said, "Oh, I know. You don't need to remind me. Then the two of them stood up. They watched Lu Fan leave and commented, "What kind of mischief is that man going to get up to in the middle of the lake?" His other companion also said, "He's certainly not making things easy for us." Meanwhile, by the lake, Lu Fan arrived at the center. Upon reaching it, he knelt down beside the chest and opened it. As soon as he opened the chest, countless items appeared. At the same time, a notification popped up from the status window. The legacy of the Dragon Warrior, the legacy of the Golden Dragon King, has been obtained. Attributes and level have increased. In this way, Lu Fan received many rewards. But Lu Fan was actually looking for something else. He thought, "Hey, there's no dragon egg here." But then he found something made of dragon scales. Seeing it, he picked it up in his hands. He didn't understand what it was. Then a reward began to glow in the air. But when Lu Fan saw this, he thought to himself, "Wow, this time, with my heavy armor and sword, I can even penetrate the main weapon style, Mars." At the same time, he picked up his bow. As Lu Fan picked up the bow, he thought to himself, "Why not test it?" The moment he activated it, the bow suddenly transformed into an invisible sword. Seeing this, Lu Fan was overjoyed, realizing that he could now attack with even greater freedom. Then his gaze fell upon the servant book. He was momentarily surprised, wondering what kind of book this servant book could be. After reading the notification on the status window, Lu Fan understood, "Hey, this is a book that can make ferocious beasts and class-changing individuals its servants." Lu Fan was overjoyed to see that this skill was far more powerful than just a mere accident. Lu Fan glanced back, and with a wide smile thought to himself, "I didn't know it would be this powerful." Afterward, he slowly descended to the ground. As Lu Fan landed, the two, seeing him, understood that it was probably time to leave. But Lu Fan smiled and said, "Before we go, I'll give you both a little buff. If I give you complete freedom in the secret realm, would you be willing?" Upon hearing this, one of them suddenly asked, "Hey, what kind of buff is this? Is it powerful?" Lu Fan smiled faintly and replied, "Yes." Lu Fan spared the lives of the two men on the condition that they would cooperate with him and remain loyal. After traveling a short distance, they encountered several wild animals. The two men dealt with them without hesitation. A while later, when things had calmed down, the two men began talking in hushed tones. "That bastard Lu Fan is making us work for him for free. If my leg ever fully recovers, I'll teach him a lesson he'll never forget and escape from his clutches." His companion chuckled softly at his words, but fear was clearly visible in his eyes. "Even if your leg heals, Lu Fan will still crush you like a bug. Right now, the most important thing is to conserve your strength and focus on surviving." Lu Fan had clearly overheard their conversation about working for free. He quietly approached them from behind and then said in a cold voice, "This isn't free labor. This is called cooperating with a partner. It's not like that weak alliance you formed with that dark sorcerer." Hearing his voice, he froze for a moment. A chill ran down his spine, and his mind raced. The fact that Lu Fan knew so much was like a hidden blade aimed at him. And then Lu Fan, pretending to be a stranger, landed on the ground and said, "Look, when the contract was activated, all your experience points were transferred to me. And in just a few days, I've reached level 70. And I've acquired almost all the fragments. There are only a few fragments left, which I'll obtain soon." But then he looked at Lu Fan with disdain. The resentment hidden in his eyes was now openly displayed, without any hesitation. "Yes, we know. You're the one who's benefiting in the end." His companion immediately grabbed his arm, signaling him to be quiet, as if trying to prevent the situation from escalating. But he couldn't control his anger. He pointed a finger at Lu Fan, his voice laced with jealousy. In contrast, Lu Fan's reaction was surprising. He neither responded to the anger with anger, nor offered any explanation. He already knew these people didn't like him. He also knew that the purpose of this conversation wasn't friendship, but to assert their dominance. His gaze was cold, and his words deliberately cutting. Your skills are truly terrible. Li Peng killed 7 beasts, while you only managed to kill 5. Upon hearing Lu Fan's words, Li Feng pointed his finger and shouted, Hey, I'm a powerful warrior. If you think it's so easy, why don't you kill the monsters yourself? Why are you making us do it? Lu Fan replied, Oh, Li Feng, you were only killing low-level enemies. Why were you doing that? There wasn't a single one above level 100. It seems you're slacking off. To this, Li Feng replied, Hey, it's just my bad luck. I only encountered these weak monsters, so I killed them. Lu Fan laughed loudly and said, Oh, so you didn't encounter any high-level monsters? Let's see about that. But then Lu Fan looked at them with a dangerous smile and said in a cold voice, I'll summon a level 120 beast for you right now. That way, you won't have to go through the trouble of finding one yourselves. Hearing Lu Fan's words, the two of them panicked and said, Oh no, there's no need for that. We'll find one ourselves. While his companion added, No, don't worry about it. We can handle it. But Lu Fan smiled and said, All right, I really don't like seeing people in trouble. It always makes me want to help them. Lu Fan moved forward, and a short distance away, he spotted a box surrounded by a purple light. Thinking that it might contain something important, Lu Fan opened the box. As soon as he opened it, a purple light emanated from within. Seeing the key inside, Lu Fan said, When luck is on your side, nothing can stop you. At that moment, a status window notification appeared. This is a fragment of the Divine Creation Pool key. Lu Fan immediately understood and thought to himself, Will I finally be able to synthesize the Divine Creation Pool? But just as Lofen reached out to pick it up, there was a powerful jolt. It felt like a tremendous explosion. The blast was so strong that the air pressure pushed them all backward. A bright light appeared in the sky. Everyone was terrified, while Lu Fan watched it intently. It looked like a human figure. Lu Fan said it seemed as if the key had appeared right in front of him. Several lights appeared in different places around Lu Fan. Seeing this, Lu Fan thought to himself that he had to find the location of the artifact that could create a god before that person did. And then Lu Fan ordered the two of them to head towards the light in the northeast direction, while he would go towards the nearest pillar. Saying this, Lu Fan took a long leap and, as he left, said, Stay in contact. Let me know immediately if there are any changes. He didn't object to Lu Fan's words and said, Okay, we'll do as you say. Meanwhile, on the other side, nearly 2 hours had passed in the desolate valley of the secret realm of the Divine Ruins. As Lu Fan approached the light, a man wielding a large weapon suddenly appeared. Turning around, he said, Where did this scoundrel come from? Seeing Lu Fan standing before him, he immediately said, This place isn't for you. Leave now or I'll cut you in two. Lu Fan immediately activated the Divine Creation Bridge. He instantly floated into the air. The man was completely terrified upon seeing the key. As if he had seen something shocking, he said, Hey, you little scoundrel, you're so lucky to have obtained the key. As soon as he said this, he transformed. He transformed into a terrifying dragon demon. And sticking out his tongue, Lu Fan stood up, ready to attack, and said, Now this key is mine. But Lu Fan wasn't scared at all. He used the key. And as soon as Lu Fan started using it, suddenly, a very powerful energy appeared. But that monster also rushed forward to attack Lu Fan and said, Hey, give me that key. You scoundrel. There was no fear in Lu Fan's eyes. He thought to himself, It seems the Divine Creation Pool isn't here. But now Lu Fan saw the danger approaching from behind him. Lu Fan was moving forward.
He understood that there was no point in staying there, and he ignored the large dragon. But then the dragon lunged forward to attack Lu Fan. However, a sword suddenly flashed through the air, severing all of the dragon's limbs and killing it in an instant. At that moment, it wasn't clear how the dragon had died so quickly. He continued forward, and after a while, he arrived at the divine realm, the secret region, and the rebirth lake. He looked around at the scenery. After observing it, he realized that the surface of the lake was indeed solid, just as Li Peng had described. The secret region had some unique places, such as the shadow forest where all skills were predetermined, or this rebirth lake where the souls of the dead were reborn forever beneath its waters. This lake only flowed when someone died in it. Thinking this, Lu Fan was delighted. He found it truly interesting. Then, without wasting any time, he took out the key and activated it. But just then, something unexpected happened, which caught Lu Fan's attention. Suddenly, several fireballs appeared behind Lu Fan, exploding near him in an instant and sending him flying into the air. He immediately got up and looked to see who had attacked him. Then, a chicken-like creature appeared before Lu Fan, transforming into a gigantic form. Looking at Lu Fan, it said, "Lu Fan, you've finally found me." Lu Fan looked at it, but he was thinking, "I never expected to find this creature here." The creature immediately transformed into its gigantic form, stood before Lu Fan, and said, "Today, I will honor my brother's soul in heaven with your blood."
Suddenly, a terrifying bird appeared behind Lu Fan, its size truly enormous. As it approached Lu Fan, it let out a loud roar and glared at him. Flames emanated from its beak and wings. But Lu Fan simply flicked his hand and continued on his way with a smile on his face. Lu Fan's smile clearly showed that he had recognized its powers. Then, with a mischievous grin and a playful tone, Lu Fan said, "Oh, is that all the heat you've got? It didn't even singe a single hair on my head." Hearing this, the giant bird became even more enraged. It launched even more fiery attacks. "You can't escape now," it roared. But Lu Fan still stood there calmly. Then Lu Fan drew his scythe. Leaping into the air, he charged forward to attack it. At that moment, the giant bird unleashed the power of the Phoenix Feather Dance. This power instantly releases hundreds of feather-like blades from its wings, each burning with divine fire. These blades automatically track down enemies within range and explode upon impact. The colossal bird activated this power without hesitation, unleashing countless feather-like blades upon Lu Fan. As he launched his attack, the giant bird glared at Lu Fan and said, "Now prepare to die, Lu Fan. No one can save you now." But now, Lu Fan's speed had increased dramatically. He swiftly approached the attack and, with a powerful punch, instantly shattered the giant bird's massive assault. Lu Fan's speed was so incredible that he deflected almost every attack, resulting in countless explosions. For a moment, even the giant bird was surprised by Lu Fan's speed. Then it lowered its head and flew past Lu Fan. But when it stopped to see where Lu Fan had gone, it turned around, and its eyes widened in surprise. Because Lu Fan had already made a long leap, and in just a few seconds he was about to attack it with his dragon dagger, the giant bird was terrified. But then something unexpected happened. Suddenly a net appeared, surrounding Lu Fan from all sides. Lu Fan's hands and feet were bound, and he was left hanging in mid-air. Lu Fan couldn't understand what was happening, but he recognized the smell of the net. "Is this poison?" he thought. Just then, a voice echoed in the sky, "Lu Fan." As he looked up, the entire sky turned purple. A powerful voice boomed from the heavens. The other end of the web was stretching towards the sky. Lu Fan still couldn't make out who it was, but then it gradually became visible. First, some sharp limbs appeared. Then, a short while later, it revealed itself to Lu Fan as a giant spider. This giant spider is known as the Luolixi spider form. It is level 110. a monstrous 8-eyed deity, the fourth of the 5 elements, from a C-rank noble family in the western region. Meanwhile, due to Lu Fan's dangerous attack, the giant bird was severely injured and reverted to its true form. It was actually a girl. She still couldn't believe that Lu Fan possessed such terrifying power and was even more powerful than her. But once again, she stood up. Flames erupted around her, and she roared, "Now I must kill Lu Fan with my own hands." At the same time, a figure emerged from inside the giant spider and said, "We can't fight here. Killing Lu Fan here is completely pointless because he will be resurrected thanks to the rebirth lake." The boy and girl transformed back into their true forms and stood by the lake. The girl said, "Fine, then pull him out of the rebirth lake. I'll tear him into 1,000 pieces." Lu Fan was still trapped in the net in midair, hanging there. He smiled and said, "Hey, in such a nice place, I'm not going anywhere." They all thought that by trapping Lu Fan in the net, she had him under her control. But Lu Fan took a deep breath and broke free from the net with a single powerful movement. And with lightning speed, he moved towards the girl. As soon as he got close to her, he grabbed her by the throat. Seeing this, the boy shouted, "Sung, shout!" And the boy called out the girl's name, "Sung, be careful." Lu Fan quickly grabbed her by the throat, causing her to cry out in pain, and she grabbed Lu Fan's hand. But then a tremendous explosion occurred. It was so powerful that flames erupted everywhere. The boy standing nearby was also startled and took a few steps back. Meanwhile, Lu Fan, who had been glaring at her with murderous intent, said, "Are you trying to burn me? That's a terrible idea, but let me tell you, this isn't even worth my warm-up." At that moment, Lu Fan drew his magic sword, and with a single stroke, beheaded the girl. Seeing this, Ning is completely astonished. He thinks, "How am I going to explain this now?" But then, the girl's body falls into the lake of rebirth and slowly begins to sink. The water swirls around her as if she is entering a chamber, and the rebirth process begins. Seeing this, Lu Fan thinks to himself, the body being revived by the lake water, this is an interesting rule. The other man, who was watching the process, thinks to himself, thank goodness this is the lake of rebirth. Otherwise, how would I explain all this to the Ning family? But then, a hand emerges from the lake of rebirth, and the girl, revived, comes out in just a few seconds. She then lunges forward to attack Lu Fan. Lu Fan quickly moves towards her and cuts her in two from head to toe. The man is astonished once again at this sight. His condition worsens. He watches as she is cut in half, and then her body falls into the lake, only for her to come back to life again. This time, she is furious. Flames erupt from her body, but she still charges forward to attack Lu Fan. This chapter ends here. To watch the next chapter, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon.